Now let's look at implementation. First up is a visual inspection. If you would, get out your worksheet and something to write with. You want to get the hands-on activity assessment handout. Let's see if we can visually judge a sign. Take a moment to look at this sign. Make a note of sign number 19. Pay attention to the background and not the legend. Does this sign pass or fail? Make a note. We're going to judge another sign now. This time, it's a yellow background. Does this sign pass or fail? Just by taking a look at the brightness of the background of the sign. Alright, this one's a little more complicated. Make a note that you're now judging sign number 15. You're rating both the green background and the white legend. Both of them will have their own cutoffs, but you're really just trying to decide, does this sign pass or fail? And now make note, we're doing sign number 6. This would represent something like a stop sign. Once again, you're going to determine if the red background and the white legend pass or fail. Let's see how you did. 19 and 2 both passed. 15 and 6 both failed. You may have found that exercise a little difficult to do, and rightly so, you had no baseline for calibration. So here's a calibrated sign. This sign has a white background and it has a black legend. This sign has been calibrated so that it is just barely passing. If it's brighter than this, or about as bright as this sign, then you may pass it. Otherwise, you must fail the sign. Moving to our next panel, we have a yellow background sign. This one is going to be for fine symbol types. This one has a bit of a higher retroreflectivity type than bold symbols, but it's probably best just to use this one because it's pretty difficult to distinguish between the two. Again, this is a calibrated sign that's calibrated right at the limit, so if the sign is brighter than this, it passes. If it's dimmer than this, then you want to go ahead and fail it. This next panel is calibrated for post-mounted green and white signs. Again, you are rating both the white legend and the green background. So when you encounter a sign like this, if either one fails, then the whole sign fails. And this last panel, once again, is a red and white sign. Again, this simulates a stop sign, and you are paying attention both to the red background and to the white legend. And just like the sign before this one, if either one fails, then you'd have to fail the whole sign. So now thinking about the calibrated signs, write down sign number 20, and then try to decide, does sign number 20 pass or fail, thinking about that first calibrated sign and looking at the white background. Alright, a little more complicated. We're looking both at the green background and also the white lettering on the sign. Does sign number 12 pass or fail? Make a note of this sign. Sign number 5. We're going to pay attention to that yellow color on the background. Does that yellow pass or does it fail? And sign number 8. Again, you want to pay attention to the red background and also the white lettering on the front of the sign. And if either one fails, you'd need to fail the sign. Does the sign pass or fail? Let's check and see how you did. All 4 signs actually passed this time. How did you do compared to last time? Another way that you can evaluate a sign is using a comparison panel. Let's take a look at how to do that. So this little panel on the left has been flipped to the side of the sign, And this is what you would do, is just clip it onto the sign itself and then shine a light on it. And you'd have to decide, is the sign as bright or brighter than the comparison panel? Once again, the comparison panel was calibrated to the brightness of the sign. Take a look at sign number 1 and try to decide, does sign number 1 pass or fail? Make a note of that, and we're going to go on to sign number 16. Once again, we're using a comparison panel, and you're just looking at the background on the color of these signs. Does that pass or does that fail based upon the brightness of the comparison panel calibrated to the minimum brightness versus the sign that it's clipped to? Now we're going to do an example of a white and red. This is a little more complicated because you're going to have to do 2 comparisons, one for the white lettering and one for the red background. And if either one fails, then you would fail the sign. So looking at the comparison panels and looking at the sign that it is clipped to, does the sign pass or fail? Looks like this is sign number 10, I believe. Now we've got sign number 13. Once again, take a look at the white lettering, take a look at the green background. You want to compare the brightness to the comparison panels. If it's as bright or brighter, the sign passes. If it's dimmer, you'd have to fail the sign. So make a note, pass or fail. Let's see how you did when you used comparison panels. All 4 signs actually failed this time. How did you do? Our next method for implementation is going to use MUTCD table 2A-3, and we are going to be looking up retroreflectivity. This is a ground-mounted prismatic sheeting, green and white sign, and we're going to get a reading off of that sign, just like we did before. And the legend on this particular sign has an average of 427. The background, an average of 64.9. So using that table, if you would, decide whether or not this sign passes or if this sign fails. Take a moment to note sign number 14 as you did the other signs in this exercise and try to decide, does it pass or does it fail? Now we're going to do sign number 17. So again, we're going to be referencing the MUTCD table, and this time it is just a background, just the white background on the sign. And we got an average reading of the background of 24.6. So make a note, does sign 17 pass or does it fail? All right, now we're looking at sign number 9. And this is a red and white sign, so you'll be paying attention to both the background and the legend. The background, we got an average reading of 13.4. The legend, we got an average reading of 44.3. Since this is a red and white sign, you'll also pay attention to the contrast ratio, which you'll find on your table. So you'll need to take that into consideration as you grade this as to whether or not it passes or it fails. And now we move on to sign number 4. This sign, we're only paying attention to the background now. This is a fine symboled sign. It is prismatic. And we got an average background reading of 174. So if you would make a note about sign number 4, does sign 4 pass or fail based on your table? Checking how you did. Once again, we see that all 4 signs actually pass this time.